Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What's the creepiest or scariest thing that has ever happened to you? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Walking my dog in a thick wooded area, I had gone off the beaten path to take some photos. As we're turning back to the path, I see another woman walking her dog. We approach. I noticed she's blonde like me, wearing a navy parka and a purple hat like me, and walking a medium-sized black dog on a neon green leash like me. I thought that was pretty funny, so I called out to say hi. As I opened my mouth, I noticed she's gone. Poof. Like she never existed. No woman, no dog, not a trace. Gave me the creeps. I felt like I saw myself walking my dog. Still gives me chills. I shared this earlier in the week. When I was a child, my grandma was sick in her room. I was watching TV and she came to the living room, told me goodbye with a smile and went out the front door. A little bit later, my mom came in and said she was dead in the room. I don't believe in ghosts. I know this is probably some weird psychological phenomenon, but my mom and I both know what I said when I was a kid, and I remember it. When I first started working as an apprentice at my old nursery, which used to be an orphanage, my coworkers would tell me about how they'd hear footsteps in rooms that were empty or think that they'd seen a child run into another room, but when they went in, there was nobody there. Kids laughing, etc. I never believed any of them, though. The few days before Christmas, we were taking down the decorations before we shut the nursery. I was on a ladder, taking down the ceiling decorations in the baby room by myself, when I heard some light footsteps coming up the stairs by the hallway. I didn't think much of it, just assumed the manager's little daughter, 5, was heading to the bathroom. I didn't hear anything for another 10 minutes. I then heard the baby room door open and heard a few footsteps head into the room, and I could see a small figure out of the corner of my eye. I assumed it was the manager's daughter, and said, "I got a few more snowflake pieces to take down if you want to help." But when I turned around fully, there was nobody. Absolutely no one. I even checked the hallway. When I went back down to the office a little while later, I asked the manager if her daughter had come upstairs at all, but she said that she had gone home an hour earlier with her nan. It properly freaked me out. Was having a hotbox session with 3 friends. This is rural South Alabama. We pull up on my friend's land where his whole family lives. It's common in these parts for multiple generations to live on a huge plot of land in multiple houses and trailers. We pull up beside his grandmother's trailer, and it's pitch black. Now, his grandmother died some years before, so the trailer is empty. The only light is a small light next to a small pond. We pull up in a 2000s Highlander. I'm in the back passenger seat. My friend, let's call him C, is in the front passenger seat. So windows are cracked, and it's almost pitch black outside. The radio and cherry on the blunts. We're about 3 or 4 in when all of a sudden I hear a soft voice say, "Hey." I kind of shrug it off, but then it happens again. All of a sudden, C turned and said, "Bro, did you hear that?" I said, "Shit, yeah." So at this point, all other activities stop, and we are all looking around. 5 seconds in, the center light in the Highlander comes on. We all scream as the driver starts the car, and we haul ass out of there. We get to a stop sign about a mile away, and we all start opening and closing our doors, and we don't trust one another to not F with each other. All 4 doors open and close, and the light is still on. The driver gets out, closes his door, and goes to the hatchback, opens, closed, and the lights go off. I don't know what it was, but it was trying to get in the car. Still unexplained for me. When I was a kid, I was effing stupid and got in a car with a stranger. He asked if I needed a ride, and I said I was just walking to my friend's house. He was very insistent. and I was pretty abused as a kid and usually did what I was told because, yeah. Anyway, I got in the car and everything went silent. It was weird. He ended up pulling over and telling me to get out, and then drove away. I never told anyone I did that until years later, but it wasn't the first or last time someone tried to kill me. I had a brush with death. My grandfather had a farm at the bottom of a mountain in North Carolina. One summer day, I decided to climb the mountain. Ended up being much further than I thought, but it was okay. I knew how to get back to the farm. I made it to the top, looked around a bit, and started back down. Everything was fine at first, except that I noticed a smell, like something rotten, and the smell didn't go away as I climbed down. Then things didn't look right. A rocky area I had passed through on the way up didn't look the same going down. Then I heard noises, like breaking branches, rustling leaves, and a voice that I couldn't quite tell what they were saying. Rocks from above me went tumbling past. One was the size of a bar stool and would have killed me if I had been struck by it. The rot smell got stronger and then weaker, but it stayed with me. When I hit a clear area where I could see the farm again, I almost burst into tears. I am full speed running for at least half a mile until I was back. I still don't know what happened up there. Did I get too close to a moonshine still and they scared me off? Was a bear following me? A cougar? Did I get too tired and start seeing or hearing things? I just don't know. As a child, we once had a random man in a Santa outfit show up at my house a few weeks before Christmas. My sister and I were thrilled to have Santa at our front door, while my parents felt something was off about the whole situation. Our next-door neighbors came in through our kitchen door and told my parents that Santa had stopped at their house too, but kept up the Santa act to their teenagers, who were obviously weirded out by this. The whole group decided to pile into a minivan and follow the Santa through the neighborhood. He didn't stop at any other house, though. He just kept walking and never acknowledged the minivan following him. He got to a house on the other side of the neighborhood and walked halfway up their yard to a tree and stepped behind it. We waited for him to continue up the yard, but he was gone. My dad and the other dad got out and tried to find the Santa, but he was gone completely. From where we parked, we could see that front door, so we know he didn't go inside that house. He just vanished behind the tree. It creeped everyone out, and we could never figure it out. Maybe not the worst, but the first that comes to mind, I was 16, and we had just gotten back from my aunt's house from Thanksgiving. It was a Saturday night and still somewhat early, and I decided to walk to my boyfriend's house, about a 30-minute walk on a main road, to spend a few hours with him. My mom was hesitant to let me walk, but I told her I wanted to walk off the big dinner we had just had. Went to grab a coffee at the end of our street for my journey. An older man was really interested in how I ordered my coffee, with sweetener instead of sugar, and trying to talk to me about it. I said my goodbye and departed with him still there. About a block down the road, I see a car driving slowly beside me. I look and it's him. He asks if I want a ride to where I'm heading. I say no, politely, and he rides off. 2 blocks up the road, I see a car idling, and it looks familiar. As I pass it, there he is, windows down again, saying, "Come on, you're walking so far. I can take you." This time, I ignore him and walk faster. Now, my alert is up, and again, about 2 blocks up, I see his car. My heart is racing. I call my boyfriend and tell him. He tells me when I approach his side street not to turn alone. He'll meet me at the corner. Again, this is happening on a main road. 2 blocks again, and 1 block before the turn to my boyfriend's house, and sure enough, he's there. This time he's yelling at me to get into the effing car. I don't know why, but I just did not even look at him. Thinking back, I'm glad I didn't, because if he was displaying a weapon, I might have felt forced to enter the car. Thankfully, my boyfriend was still on the phone with me and started sprinting down the last block to meet me. When he realized what was happening, his boyfriend yelling, "Babe, I'm here, come," the guy finally sped off. Sure, it might not be supernatural, but that's real and something that could really happen to anyone. So it was good that you had the foresight to call someone, and even better that you could get someone to meet you on the route, so good for you. I was a homeless veteran for a while and worked myself out of it. I was returning to my first starter apartment in the least savory part of town, known for violent crime rates. Crossing a road a block from home, I noticed about a dozen law enforcement officers harassing two elderly men who were obviously both, well, they had the Downs look, to be honest. It escalated to some taunts, mocking, and shoving by these Leos. So I said something. Big mistake. I had the ever-loving shit beaten out of me. I thought they were going to kill me, to be honest, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the following time of having welfare checks and stop and frisk situations. I can't count the times I've been thrown against a wall. The scrapes and bruises never had time to fully heal before the next assault. I was tackled off my bicycle because I must have stolen it. Never did get that bike back. There was no recourse. There was not a thing I could do but work harder to move out of that living hell. It took 2 years before I could afford a better neighborhood. The absolute power of authority and its allowed abuse. Living at the back of a long stretch of canal and being followed by someone for a very long distance in the middle of nowhere whilst walking my dog. It was around 11 a.m., so I thought I'd be safe, and there was nobody to ask for help. I was about 15 or 16. When I finally saw my house, I bolted so fast, but thankfully he didn't see which house I went in. The next night, my mom went for a walk with the same dog and took my coat. 20 minutes later, she ran into the house hysterical, as a gray matching the exact description dragged her into a bush with his trousers around his ankles. I 100% believe he waited in the area and dragged who he thought was me into the bush with the intention of, well, you know what of. I think the worst part at the time was the moment I realized this guy was following me. I knew he was walking behind me, but thought nothing of it. But I turned around to see where my dog was, and he jumped into a bush to try and hide himself. I knew then I was in for a very long way from home, or likely any other people, and was being followed by this man. It was horrifying. About a year ago, I was walking home from a walk with my dog. It was about 8 p.m. We usually walk some route through a park in my neighborhood, and the only thing that connects my neighborhood and the park is a very narrow alley. There's hardly anyone ever there, and if there is, it's just some teens drinking or smoking. Anyway, this time I enter the alley, and about halfway through, I spot two guys, and from where I was, I could hear they were talking. As I get closer to them, they immediately got quiet. I shot a glance at them, and they were maybe in the early 40s, dressed pretty nice. So I passed them by, and just as I'm about to leave the alley, I hear my dog's name being called out, clear as day, Boris. I looked behind, as did my dog, and the two men who were there with their backs toward us. I know for a fact it was them, but I have no idea who they were. I've never seen them before, and I've lived in that area most of my life. Fast forward to 2 days later, and I'm leaving my flat to go to the store, around the same time as last time, and these exact same guys passed me by on the stairs in my building. I got all the way down to the entrance, and then I panicked. thinking that they might break into my flat and steal my dog. So I quickly equipped my keychain as a DIY Wolverine claw and ran back upstairs, but they weren't there. There were still a couple of floors above mine, so maybe that's where they went? But I was on edge for the rest of the night and a couple of days after that. I haven't seen them since. I told my mom that I was hearing footsteps outside my bedroom window on the second floor. Parents brushed it off as new neighbors just moving in, and I had way too active an imagination. To be fair, they had some renovations going on, and their second-story balcony wasn't quite finished yet. Plus, I love watching horror films at night, which made me slightly jumpy. My parents probably thought that the neighbors were trying to clean debris at night when they couldn't sleep. They were both retired and elderly, very, very nice people, and me being a 12-year-old trusted my parents completely. Neighbors were robbed 1 week later when the neighbors gained entry through the unfinished balcony window by climbing up another neighbor's wall, walked across the roof, our roof, which happens to be right outside my bedroom window, and then got to my neighbors. The police think that we and the other neighbors were bypassed because we had very obvious bars on the windows, whereas the neighbors had clear signs of construction going on, and their alarm was not put in yet. I was sitting in my room doing whatever with my headphones on, just chilling. My bedroom is in the basement and east-facing, so it's fairly dim in the winter afternoons and somewhat isolated from the rest of the house to help set the scene. After a little bit, I thought I heard something behind me, which would have been weird because the only thing behind me is the closet. No one else is home, and the layout would make it impossible for anyone to arrive without me hearing, let alone get behind me without me noticing. I pulled the headphones off and listened for a moment, but didn't hear anything for a while, so I went back to what I was doing, but I turned the volume down. A bit later, I hear it again. I can't place what it is, but it's definitely coming from behind me, from the closet. I take the headphones off again and listen, and wait. Then I hear it again, and this time I can make it out clearly. A little girl's giggle. Nope. There's nothing in this house that has any reason to sound anything like that, and I'm not about to be the bitch that dies in the opening act and kicks off the whole movie. I decide that if the demons are going to kill me, I may as well be upstairs, so when the roommates come home, the discovery of my corpse is suitably dramatic. At the top of the stairs, I hear the little girl giggle, again louder, and roll a stock of thunder sound effects. What the F? In the living room, which sits directly above my room, one of my roommates had left the TV on, and YouTube had cycled to a Halloween spooky ambiance video. The speaker set on the floor was reacting with the empty wall safe in my closet to make a resonant speaker that was just right for echoing the higher-pitched little girl giggle into my room and make me pee my pants. I did put a padlock on that safe though, just in case.